This is all review from grade 9. This is the difference between grade 9 and grade 10. This was like a whole unit and a hard unit in grade 9. And we're reviewing it in one day. But you'll be fine because we're going to practice it a lot, so don't worry. Not on the quiz. I'll repeat that, not on the quiz. Okay? The only thing that's on the quiz is those 3 formulas that we've covered so far: slope, length, and midpoint. Okay. Somebody tell me the formula for slope. Dylan. M equals, that's okay. That's okay. Y2 minus Y1. Very good. That just reminds me, so I'm just going to pause there and say something. Some people are leaving this part out, M equals. And I know you were just giving me the formula. I'm not talking about Dylan here. But like leaving out the M equals. And then I write and then you just write equals, 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 equals. What equals? Like you got to say it once. You don't have to keep saying it. You have to say it once. Because if you just say equals this with a blank, what equals that? That doesn't make any sense. What equals that, right? And telling me little m for slope, telling me it's a slope, tells me a lot of information. You know that it's slope, you know the formula, you know what you're finding, what you're supposed to be finding, all that. Very good. Point slope formula. Has anybody ever heard of this? Different schools do this differently. I'm going to show you this, and if it's new and you have another way of doing it and you want to do it your way, that's fine. But if you trust me on this one, this is a really good way of doing what we're about to do, and it's not any harder than the way you did it, however it was last year. Okay, so just bear with me here. Point slope formula looks like this. Y minus Y1 equals mx minus x1. So, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Not only is it important to know a formula, but you obviously have to know what the formula does. So I keep talking about these tools we have in our tool belt. Having the tool, but also knowing how to use it, when to use it, what its purpose is a huge part of being successful. And even if you take that analogy to like tools, like building a house, that's true too. You might have all the tools in the world, but if you're using the wrong tool for the wrong job, you're going to do a terrible job of building whatever it is you're building, right? Like that's true. Okay, so what does this one do? This one finds slope between 2 points. Very good. So the input is 2 points, and the output is slope. To use it, I need to have 2 points. What does it give me? The slope between them. What does point slope formula do? It finds the equation of a line. The input is 1 point, and the slope of the line, and the output is the equation. Andy, you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, for the point slope formula, should it be y2 minus y1?
No, but very good for noticing that. It does look exactly like the slope formula, but I rearranged it. So it looks like m equals y minus y1 divided by x minus x1. But I took that whole x minus x1 and I multiplied by it and brought it up to the top on the other side. Okay, so it is just the slope formula, slightly rearranged. Okay, and it's a really quick and easy way, and you already know slope formula, so that means you already know this, and it's a really quick and easy way to find equations of lines. Okay, yes?
Would it still work if you switch the y's and the x's around?
No, it would not. Got to have it written down that way. Okay, yes, Ben? Y1, well, we're going to practice it. Like, we're going to use it right now so you'll see. Y1 is a point. X1 is a point. y and x are like the y and x in the equation, like y equals mx plus b. That has y and x in it. That's why it's not y2 and x2. It's y and x because it's an equation now. It's not 2 points, it's 1 point. And then, so we know the slope, and we know x1, y1. And when we plug that in, we're going to get an equation. Y equals mx plus b, or in standard form, which is what we're going to focus on more. Okay? Okay, so those are the two tools that we're going to focus on using right now. To find the equation of a line, you need to, at the beginning of a question, you need two pieces of information. You either need 2 points, or you need slope and 1 point. Slope and the y-intercept is the same as slope and a point, because the y-intercept is just a point. So that's not different, but sometimes we think of it as a different case. Like sometimes you're given the y-intercept. Well, that's a point. So that's just slope and a point. Okay? So there's sort of these two cases. We're either given 2 points or we're given slope and 1 point. And the first part of all of these questions is identifying the information that you're given. So the very first question, you're given it directly. If you take a look. Example 1, find the equation of each line with given information. Slope equals 2 over 3, and I have a point 2 comma negative 3. I'm just given slope and a point. Very straightforward. But it's not always that obvious. Sometimes it's like, find the equation of a line parallel to some other line with the same y-intercept as some other line. So it's not as obvious, okay, that of the information that you're given. So you have to diagnose, am I given 2 points or am I given point and a slope? But it's always two pieces of information. Okay? So in general, if we don't have the slope, we have to find the slope first. Then we pick one of the points and we use the slope and we sub it into the formula. Everybody ready to try one? Okay, so, and I'm going to kind of outline the information that I have. So I have slope. Oops, I'm not going to use red. Okay, my slope, m equals 2 over 3. My point is 2, comma 3. So check, I've got my slope. Check, I've got a point. I can go straight to finding the equation. Right? I have what's needed. I have the input to use this formula. So I can use it. My goal is to find the equation. That formula gives me the equation. I have what I need to use that formula, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Ben, you had your hand up. We'll get there. Yeah, you'll see. Okay, so equation where my slope is 2 over 3 and my point is 2, negative 3. Write down my equation, y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. So it's y minus, this is what Ben was asking about, the y value, which is negative 3. So yes, we're going to end up adding. Equals m, which is 2 over 3, and then x minus 2. I'm going to put this in standard form. When you go to standard form, your first step is to take your denominator and multiply by it on both sides, which is going to move it over here. So watch how this works. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 3, and I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 3, and that's going to divide those to 1, and I'm going to get 3 bracket y plus 3 equals 2 bracket x minus 2. What is this? This is 3y plus 9. What is this? This is 2x minus 2. Standard form says I have to take everything to one side and set it equal to 0. So I'll move everything to the left. I get negative 2x plus 3y, and then add 2 and add 2 plus 11 equals 0. And I'm done. 4, yeah, that should be 4. So that makes that 13. See how easy that was to put it in standard form using that point slope formula? That's why it's so nice. If you wanted to go to y equals mx plus b for some reason, I could have just as easily done that. Yes? Back up to what? So like 1, 2, 3, this one right here. The one above it, this one. Just plug it into the formula. So there's my point. Okay, yeah, that one, yeah. So this is just plugging into the formula. This one, I multiplied by 3 on both sides. So multiplying by 3 on this side just divides out the 3 to 1. And then I have to multiply this whole thing by 3, so I put it in brackets. And then you just distribute, and it's easy. No fractions. Again, look how nice I am. I always give you these tricks so you don't actually have to do fraction math. Isn't that awesome? This may seem weird at first. Take my word for it. Once you've done it a couple times, it's awesome. It's really, really easy to use. That being said, if you have a way that you did in grade 9 that you're more comfortable with, you're more than welcome to do that. But you should try this a couple times first. Now, why did what? Yeah. Yeah. We multiply both sides by 3. We're just solving an equation. Let me show you again. Part of what I did here disappeared. I multiplied both sides by 3 times 3 and times 3. Right? So these 3's divided to 1. That's why it's gone in the next step. This 3 multiplied here. Right? Ben? What else would you use? How did you do it last year? Did you just always use y equals mx plus b, sub in y equals mx plus b and rearrange? That might be what you did. I've done it both ways. I got to tell you, this way is way better. It's just way easier once you get used to it. It's not like it's not complicated, but it's just different. But y equals mx plus b just has a lot more steps, especially if you have fractions. There's a lot more steps to move things around. This one is almost already done when we sub in. It's done. That's standard form. Why would you do that? Why would you? So the instructions will say, it doesn't in this question, but the instructions will say, find the equation of each line with given information, leave your answer in standard form. So most of the time we're going to put it in standard form. That's what we're practicing. If the instructions didn't say, then you could leave it in whatever form you want. Does that make sense? You'll see that a lot of them say standard form. Let's try another one. What's different about this one? It's 2 points instead of point and slope. Very good. We need to have point and slope to use our formula. Even if you're doing y equals mx plus b, you need point and slope to use y equals mx plus b, right? So, so I need to find slope first, but I can find slope. If you remember, here's our slope tool. What's the input? 2 points. And I've got that. I have 2 points. So I'm going to use my 2 points to find slope. Okay? So that's what we're going to do here. Slope m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is 10 minus 5 over 6 minus 3. Is that right? 10 minus 5 is 5. 6 minus 3 is 3. 5 over 3, done. Do I have the slope of the line? Yes, check. Do I have at least 1 point? Yes, check. I can use my equation to find the equation of the line. My formula, sorry, to find the equation of the line.
Can we use any point?
Yes, absolutely. You can use any point. Which point do you want to use?
A?
Use A. Sometimes one might be easier than the other. Did you choose A because the numbers are a bit smaller? Good idea, right? But sometimes maybe one of them has a fraction or more negatives. Whatever jumps out to you that's easier to use, do that. Absolutely, you can use either point. They're both on this line, so of course they would both work. Don't need a therefore statement unless it's really like a word problem or something like that typically, yeah. So I'm going to use 0.35. So equation, slope equals 5 over 3 with my point, of 3, 5. My formula, y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. Y minus 5 equals 5 over 3 x minus 3. Remember the same thing? The denominator comes, like it's the same every time. The denominator comes over. This is 3 times y minus 5 equals 5 times x minus 3. Distribute both brackets. 5x minus 15. I'll bring it all to the left this time. So that's going to be 0 equals 5x minus 3y. I'm adding 15 to both sides. So that's just 0. So I'm done. Parker.
Could you bring like the other stuff to the other side of the equal sign?
Yes, either is fine. Some people say, did you do a lot of standard form last year? Did you do none? You did something, okay. Some people say the coefficient of x has to be positive. That's not really like a formal universal definition, but people do it. That's how I was taught. People do it that way so that your answer looks like the back of the book. If I went the other direction, this would be negative 5x plus 3y, and the back of the book probably has this one. They mean the same thing, okay? You can only put one answer in the back. Like, it'd be confusing if you have multiple answers for every question. But this, this is the one that almost universally every question, every textbook or every handout would have this because the x is positive. So if you want your answers to match exactly, try for that. If you don't care and you know that if I just flip the signs it's the same thing, then it doesn't matter. I would not mark you wrong for doing that. The one thing that's important to remember about standard form is you're not allowed to have fractions in it. It's all integers, right? And everything is on one side equal to 0. Even that is debated. Some people think it doesn't have to be equal to 0, but anyway, that's how we're going to do it. Okay, Natalie, question? No, it does not. We could have used the other point. We would have got the exact same answer. Try it if you want. You'll see. Ben, what were you going to ask? Same thing? Okay. Don't write all this down. You don't need to write all this down. This is still just review. We got a couple more little things to look at. We already talked about this, parallel and perpendicular lines. You can start writing down the example if you like. What is true of parallel lines? They have the same slope. It's on classroom. What is true of perpendicular lines? They have negative reciprocal slopes. So that means if my slope is negative 4, then a slope that's parallel will be negative 4. And if I have a slope that's 3 over 5, then a slope that's perpendicular will be negative 5 over 3. We already kind of talked about this. Or I could do one more. What if my slope was negative 5? Very good. So change the sign, and 5 is 5 over 1, so you flip it 1 over 5. So we're going to find the equation with the given information, and take a look. It says right there, put the equation in line in standard form, right? So it's going to tell you that most of the time. Parallel to the line, so parallel to this line, and with the same x-intercept as that line. So this is where I get my slope from, because it says parallel to that line. That's giving me the slope. Remember that, like this is from grade 9, right? With the same x-intercept as that, well, that's a point. So there's my point. So let's find slope first. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. So I'm going to use this equation, 2x plus 3y minus 3 equals 0. If the slope of the line that I'm looking for is parallel to that, what do I need to do to find it? If the slope of the line that I'm looking for is parallel to that, what do I need to do to find it? Ben? Find the slope of this line. The slope I want is the same. How am I going to find the slope of this line? Ahmed? Very good. So see, all that information you know about y equals mx plus b is useful. You need it. So I'm going to move the 2x over, move the negative 3 over. I get 3y equals negative 2x. What am I doing? Negative 2x plus 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 1. So the slope of this line is negative 2 over 3. So a parallel slope is negative 2 over 3. It seems ridiculous to write it out, but it's useful to organize your thinking. And to show your thinking, what you're trying to do. Everybody good so far? Does this make sense? Okay, let's find a point. I'm going to use this line. How do I find an x-intercept? Does anybody remember that? Yes, Simran? Y is 0 when you're at an x-intercept. Think about an equation, right? Sorry, I meant think about a graph. So if I make any x-intercept, what's true of all of those points? Y is always 0. If I make any y-intercept, what's true of any of those? X is 0. So I have a little trick that helps me remember this, and I say it every single time that I find an intercept. Finding intercepts, folks, is actually a really big thing. You do it in every grade, and it kind of gets harder and harder, but like it's a big deal. So I do this, x int at y equals 0. I do it, I write it, and I say it every single time. You'll never forget it. X-intercept occurs when y is 0. X-intercept occurs when y is 0. Y-intercept occurs when x is 0. You don't have to write it, but you have to kind of show what you're doing at some point. I think it's a good idea to do it. I don't see why not. If you're interested in writing the very least amount possible on every occasion, then you're just kind of like not in the right place, right? We're not going to be successful doing that. Okay, so when y is 0, that's going to go away. So you can sub it in and show that. It would look like this. 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12, and it's gone. Oops, I left this on. 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12, so that's going to be gone. Or you can just go straight to 3x equals 12, divide both sides by 3, x is 4. Therefore, x is 4, y is 0. Now I've got my point. Remember, all of this is we're trying to find an equation. And the formula for finding an equation, no matter what you're doing, whether it's y equals mx plus b or using the point-slope formula, requires that you have point and slope. So my slope is negative 2 over 3, and my point is 4, 0. Y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1, y minus 0 equals negative 2 over 3, x minus 4. Bring the 3 over. Negative 2, keep the negative with the one on top. Make sure it doesn't go with both. Some people do that. It's more of a grade 9 mistake. 3y equals negative 2x plus 8. If I bring it all to the left, the x is positive. Minus 8 equals 0. Watch your signs. Lots of work for one question like that. Yes, Natalie. It was an x-intercept. Look, y equals 0. It says right there. So this point is 4, 0 because it's an x-intercept. You're going to have lots of practice at this. Remember, it's not on the quiz tomorrow. Not just, I'm not saying I'm giving you a ton of homework tonight. It's not what I'm saying. But we're going to, like, what we're using this for, we're going to do for a few days. So you'll have lots of practice at this. Let's not do this one right now, but I'm going to let you get started on the practice because I want you to try one right now. But what would this one be like? So through that point and perpendicular to that line, what would that look like? Perpendicular to that line means I have to find the slope of that line and then take the negative reciprocal, right? So kind of like what we did up here, I found the slope of this line, but then I kept it the same. For the next one, I find the slope of that line, but then flip it and change the sign, negative reciprocal. And it gives me the point. And it's got a fraction in it. Makes it a little bit trickier. But then I would just do the same thing. So I don't have to find the point I'm giving it, but I do have to find the slope. Every question is a little bit different. Any other questions?